There's so much, really too much, to say about the events in Israel and in Gaza over the last day. The relief of hostages finally coming home and reuniting with their loved ones. The bittersweetness of those who died in captivity, who may finally be allowed a burial. The sorrow for all of the lives lost and broken these past 2 years. Our community memorial scroll commemorating those who've lost their lives is in our foyer as you come and go from the sanctuary today. We've all lost so much. The memories of those who died on Simchat Torah, on Shmini Atzeret 2 years ago on October 7th, and those who've died since, we as a people hold them dear. But right now, I want to focus on the memories that we as individuals hold dear. I want to focus on what each of you, on what each of us has lost when a loved one dies. When we speak of losing, we might be talking about keys or a sweater. We might be talking about our minds or our ways. Or we might be talking about a person. Death has many names. Gone, going home, being in a better place, passing away. These are terms that avoid the finality of dying, that seek to soften its starkness. But losing someone is another way of speaking of death. But the term loss is somehow different from those other euphemisms, because in dying, we experience the ultimate loss. The loss of a life, the loss of a relationship, the loss of a shared future, the lost potential for repair or growth or closure, the loss of a person. Rather than avoiding the impact of death, loss captures the truth of dying. But in our society, we've learned to believe that loss does not stand on its own. We've been taught that what is lost can always be found. Now, I don't mean that pair of sunglasses that went overboard on a sailing trip. Those are not likely to be reunited with their owners. And I also don't mean that a loved one who has died can be returned to us in life. But in the loss of what we had, there's the potential for finding something new. One of the most significant losses in Jewish textual tradition was the loss of the Garden of Eden. It's the loss that started them all. In the Torah portion that Jews around the world read this week, the final act of creation in Parashat Bereshit is the eating of the fruit of the tree of knowledge and the banishment of Adam and Eve from the garden. While other faiths' readings of this passage interpret it as the tragedy that led to all other tragedies, in Judaism, this loss is not so straightforward. We have a commentary, really a midrash, from the Lubavitcher Rabbi that captures the Jewish understanding of this original loss. Then the eyes of both of them were figuratively opened, he wrote, and they suddenly understood that they had lost their original divine consciousness. They were no longer aware of themselves as part of God, but as independent beings. This loss wasn't a simple tragedy. Adam and Eve may have lost their innocence, but they found knowledge and individuality and took the final step to full humanity. When we lose what we had, it allows for the possibility of finding something new. This is as true of us humans today as it was for the first humans in the Garden of Eden. When we lose our footing, we have the potential to find our strength, to find our place, and to find one another. I'm not trying to minimize the experience of loss. When death causes us to lose a person, they are gone in very real ways. But there are things that we still can find. We can find their imperfect humanity, the used Kleenex in their jacket pocket as we clean out their closet, the picture from years ago that we find stuck in a stack of papers. We can find forgiveness for them. We can find forgiveness for ourselves as we let go of the hurts that can no longer be compounded and let ourselves breathe a little more deeply and freely. And we can find connection, l'dor vador, in sharing our loved ones' lives and stories with friends and family and generations to come. We lost my grandmother, Shirley, on Shmini Atzeret. This had been her favorite Jewish holiday. Why Shmini Atzeret? No, it wasn't because she had special insight into the meaning and ritual of the holiday, because no one really does. An 8th day of a 7-day holiday, why don't we just call Sukkot 8 days long? I don't know. She didn't know either. No, Grandma Shirley liked Shmini Atzeret because she thought the name was funny. I do too, that's why I'm going to say it a bunch more times. Shirley Stillpass Wagner was gentle and generous, creative and caring and warm. She was modest, never showing off, and also not spending a lot of money. She didn't even like to talk about how she grew up during the Great Depression with a chauffeur taking her to piano lessons. She was a woman who defied the norms of her generation. She was confirmed as a teenager, part of the first class of girls in her conservative shul to be confirmed in the 1930s. She worked outside of the home as an occupational therapist, a member of the first graduating class at the University of Wisconsin. And as kind as she was, Grandma Shirley was also strong. And she instilled her values in her 2 daughters. I never knew Grandma Shirley. She died almost a decade before I was born. But this day, Shmini Atzeret, will always make me think of her. Grandma Shirley's death was a hole that could never be filled, a break that can never be mended. But out of her loss came a finding. Out of the loss of their mother, my mom and my aunt helped my generation find our grandmother. They showed us pictures and told us stories that ensured that we discovered her kindness and compassion, her artistic skill, her dedication to others. Every time a family member or a friend tells my mom or my aunt or my cousins or my brother or me that we are just like our Grandma Shirley, we find her legacy in ourselves. Finding doesn't erase the losing. Our loved ones, parents, grandparents, siblings, spouses, children, family, friends, they are still gone. But finding can be its own blessing. When a person dies in Jewish tradition, we append to their name, Zichrona Livracha, may their memory be for blessing. We do this as soon as the traditional mourning period concludes. These words are intentional. They remind us that, like humanity's original loss in the Garden of Eden, losing can also mean finding. That after our losses, when we are ready, we might find blessing. Each time our loved ones return to us, in stories, in memories, they once again live in our hearts. What was lost has been found, and that is a blessing. Chag Sameach.